Okay. Finally, it works. So yeah, I did some research and I found out this is actually the sixth event which I want to talk about. And it matches nice with next year being the sixth conference, but I'm not talking about this. I'm talking about something else. I'm a little bit concerned, and that's why I decided to speak about this. Because then I looked at the German Wikipedia page and I found out it's like the 11th event. So we're not even like sure how many events of such events we had. And all of those events have been global, and currently we are part of such a global event, and so it's not like your choice to be in it or not. And I'm talking about mass extinction events. Basically, every week we're currently we're not just like picking leaves from the tree of life. We're just erasing whole branches, and also the number one cause for this is us. And though I claim this is like it's not the 6th or the 11th event, it's the first event that actually it's caused by a species that is aware about it. And also, it's not only climate change. Climate change is part of this, but it's like a worldwide event, and it's caused by different factors. And we are part of the tree of life. And if we keep erasing things, it's basically at the end we probably might have a race if we end first or the event ends first. And climate change is the number one reason, but also the other reasons are things like land usage and other things. And then on the other thing, in this century we have like probably that AI will play a lot bigger risk. The so-called Internet of Shit. I think we just all saw the power of DDoS coming from IoT devices. And so we finally have a use case for IoT. And also, you might have noticed that in this year, encryption is ready for the masses in the form of Trojans, which want to try to give a ransom to someone else. And so if you see the technical advancement of our own civilization, there's basically, this is a very good article on waitbutwhy.com, which I would like you to really read if you're interested in this kind of stuff. Your technical expectation kind of forms between when you're born and like 35, or maybe this turns a bit older or a bit younger now. And your expectation on the future from that point is linear. But the technical evolvement which we currently have is exponential. That's why older people see the future a bit less bright than younger people, because they are used to a steeper climb in the technology. And in the first 14 years of this century, we had the technology advancing like we had in the last century. And in the next 7 years, we will have again this century. So we're really going fast. And on the other side, we have the economy. We have this self-optimizing system where we really drive ourselves into doing more and more things with automation, and we really don't have an answer to what do we do with our societies if more and more people are driving, no trucks anymore. They're not working in factories, and we have a drone delivery. Also, I did a job called I did a lightning talk called Programming on this, asking those questions for us programmers, because if we are like 10 or 20 years away from AI systems, or 30 years away from AI systems, we are probably not going to have the huge demand for programmers as we have today. And I do think that the main challenge with climate change, and climate change is currently probably entering a new phase. Are we able to keep the 2 degrees, or are we 3 or 4 degrees? And when is this out of our control? So I think that we really have to learn how to take better care of our societies and the planet itself. And otherwise, if we don't, maybe our survival will be in jeopardy. And just an example from the past, which I stumbled upon a few years ago about technology. This is the Bikini Atoll, and they did the second test, Castle Bravo, for hydrogen bombs there. And so you had the test site, which is this crater, and you had the scientists. And the Americans, they were very smart, because the Americans figured out that this is a 5 megaton explosion. And then they triggered this thing, and they found out this was a 15 megaton explosion. And this happened twice. The first test, the hydrogen bomb, was a 3-story building, and the Americans didn't see it coming that the uranium, which was casing the actual bomb, would be going critical in the blow, and then hence they had a 5 megaton explosion being 15 megatons. Now, in this new bomb is designed to be thrown on cities or on other things, and the Americans are much smarter. They're now using lithium, and they have 2 lithium isotopes, lithium-6 and lithium-7, and this is very much safe because lithium-7 is like an introvert, and lithium-6 is an extrovert, and only lithium-6 will react with the reaction of the bomb, and this is very safe. What the Americans oversaw is that the fast neutrons in the nuclear reaction would turn the introverts into extroverts, and you would basically have a lot more fuel in the bomb with lithium-7. And they didn't see that coming, and they had a big problem because the scientists in the bunker, they back then they still had real scientists, they had like everything what they needed, except they had no evacuation plans and they had no protective clothes. And then they basically made their protective clothes out of their bed sheets and had to be evacuated because their Geiger counters were like going off through the roof, because this bunker, it wasn't built for 15 megaton explosions. And we are seeing now, just think about if we have an AI which we think is like at a smart point of 5, and then it's 3 times as better, or maybe learning itself or something. But also, if you remember the test site, the explosion left a crater which is 60 meters deep and 60 meters wide. And so, if you're really interested in surviving this century, how are you going to do this? Elon Musk has this great plan to fly to Mars, and I think that's a good idea. But fighting climate change is also a good idea, but how are you going to do it? I like the current trend that in Asia, solar, etc., is getting better, and solar is probably one of the answers which will help us to survive this century. But how about the other challenges, etc.? So we need more and better technology, and we need it fast. And in my opinion, this is only solvable if we have more engineers, better communities, and we are much better in getting information, like new standards, out. And I think that the new C++ standards might really help in this. But maybe I'm also a bit biased towards C++. And on the other hand, I really think that community work and user groups and other ways help us to connect more people in a faster way, because in the large pool of engineers which we need to solve the problems of the future, we are only being able to upgrade them to the newer standards if we're able to reach them, and if we're able to reach them fast. And we're not really making a dent in the problem with conferences. So basically building those communities is definitely going to help us in our future, and it's definitely going to be an investment in our own future, I think. That's one of the reasons why I do this work. And yeah, so there's another book on extinction. It's a bit different. I don't want to spoil you. If you have read it, it's good. If you haven't read it, you might want to pick it up. And that brings me